Welcome back to another episode of the Fresh Show. I'm your host, Fresh. I'm here with my guests. We got a special guest. This is our first woman guest on the show. So I got Imari Danielle with me. Go ahead and introduce yourself. I'll just introduce you. You could tell them where to find you at, your handle, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff, whatever.
My name's Imari Danielle. You can catch me on Facebook under the same name, Imari Danielle, Imari, in the regular spelling of Danielle, Danielle. Instagram, Twitter, you can find me on Yada Spits. That's my handle. That's YADASPITS. So catch me on those platforms.
All right. Thanks for the introduction. Okay, so the reason why I wanted to bring you on today's show to talk is because I feel like me and you kind of exchanged some dialogue recently, and it's around a subject that I feel like is a very popular subject, of course, on podcasting and on social platforms everywhere. And it is the gender war. All right. So I saw a post and I felt like it had some, I feel like men and women, when we communicating our problems or our issues or whatever the case study, I would just call it, that's being presented, right? I feel like we are having a miscommunication, right? And I feel like that's what's happening. And because of that, I don't feel like it's an actual gender war. I feel like it's just a dysfunction that's going on, a misunderstanding. It's like men and women speak different languages, right? And when we hear each other talk, we not really hearing each other talk, right? So a post you made the other day kind of intrigued me, and I feel like it hit on exactly that, right? So let's see if I could pull it up. I don't know if it was this one because I know we had two conversations on two separate posts. So because I got this one pulled up, I'll just talk about this one first. And then if I can find the other one, we can go into that one. All right. But I'll just read the post. All right. So the post was, you reposted it with a caption. So I'll read the original post first.
Okay.
The original post was, why women with their shit together never can keep a man. Asking for my pastor, hashtag, whatever, I feel like that's some comedy with it or whatever like that, right? And I won't even read your caption, right? I'll just kind of like let you talk about what feelings did you get from that and why, right?
So when I see posts like that, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, men speaking like this are talking about women in a certain tax bracket or in a certain salary range. In my opinion, this is probably going towards women 70K plus, probably because, I mean, that's pretty healthy, financially stable to a degree, as far as income goes on the lower end. Because, of course, she could be making 100,000 or more. But these type of women, I would say in our community as Black people, because our salary income is not that high, if you look at the averages across different demographics of race. When I looked at the Peter G. Peterson Foundation on their website, that's, let me pull this up really quickly, that's pgpf.org. When I looked at Black household income, meaning man and woman, is 52,000. So if man and woman together are making 52,000 on average in our community, and a woman by herself is making 70K plus, I would say that she is considered a high performer. She has high drive, she has a good job, which means she probably went to college. She probably got some type of skill that pays her well, which in my opinion makes her high performing. And so on average, Black males, make anywhere between, I believe that they said like 40 something thousand. And so let's just say that if the average male that's making this amount of money comes across a woman that's making 70K, there's going to be a lot of social dynamics or social norms that are going to be introduced into this relationship by both sides, right? So as a man, he's going to be as a man, you guys are socially trained to be leaders, providers, protectors, right? And then on the other side, women are taught, to date up. We're taught to look for a man that is a provider, And so when you have these different social constructs coming together, it's going to be mismatches a lot in within this dynamic. And so it's usually it's going to be misunderstanding on both sides. It's going to be some projecting on both sides. But usually it's the man that cannot handle that woman making that amount of money. And also on the flip side, it's the woman not really trusting the male to really lead her because she may view, his economic status as a sign of his drive, right? Because if a man had high drive, logically, right? It may not be true in all cases, but if a man has high drive and he has a lot of ambition and he's striving, he could be in the midst of building something. So that's different. But usually a man that has that type of drive or ambition, he's already obtaining that. And so, or he's on the way to obtaining it. A lot of times, though, you might have men that are not trying to strive for that. They're just average Joes. And so I just truly believe the average Joe is not going to be able to handle a woman that has high drive, that has high ambition, and she's not going to trust his leadership because she doesn't really view his, work ethic as someone that really matches her own. And so why, as a successful person, would she, choose to follow his leadership if she doesn't think that he's leading himself correctly? You have all these different dynamics. And so I just truly see that being probably the core of that dysfunction in that instance, or why women in this bracket can hardly find a man that's an average Joe.
Got you. All right. So, my response to that is, it's not that I'm necessarily disagreeing with what you're saying, right? My response to that is, I just feel like what we were specifically analyzing, I don't feel like it went into all of that detail, right? And I feel like women sometimes, right, when we analyze these situations with women and men, they are under the presumption that a woman is at whatever status that y'all associating with whatever we talking about, right? So the words that were used were that she had her shit together. I think black people, we have a false perception of what that actually means, right? So
Possible.
if we look at even some of the stuff you touched on, even went into my thought process as you said it, like the average black man or black woman, right? For some reason, we associate the word average as negative. Like we see that as a negative thing, like that being average is negative. When I feel like if most of us are truly assessing things on a scale from the very best to the very worst, we would be average. So even when we talk about we're having our shit together, that should look average. It shouldn't look like if you're past average, then that would be having your shit together plus some, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's a disconnect with, I feel like sometimes, I can only speak from a man perspective, right? I'm a man. I feel like sometimes females, or I don't want to use the word females because I know sometimes that can be offensive, right? I'm just going to say women, right? I feel like sometimes women, and I particularly focus on my culture, so I don't really get into the whole white people or this, whatever other ethnic group or demographic. I don't really get into that. I focus on my culture. So I feel like black people and black women are having this disconnect with what average is and what that looks like coming from a man, right? Of course, we all want the best of the best, right? But typically that's above average and you're average. So why would you think that you get above average? I'm not saying you specifically, I'm just saying us in general as towards each other, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I'm feeling a disconnect with women expectations of what they think a black man should be and provide and what capabilities he should have and what they should have. So
Mm-hmm.
even if a woman is above average, right? Even if a man is above average, him likely finding that opposite above average is not likely.
Exactly. And that's why a lot
So
of sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
go ahead. You can interrupt.
No, I'm sorry. I think that that's why a lot of women in this post, are not finding when they're talking about women not being able to find that or being single. This is why I automatically went to that because the average woman is not having an issue finding a man. She's not.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm,
I
I'm
push
not.
back to that. I push back to that.
A successful relationship
Definitely.
is different than finding a man, right? You can find any man. That's not hard. To be
Got you.
honest,
Okay. Okay. Got you.
statistics show, honestly, this is something that men, I don't know if this is a thing that men realize now, but if you look at statistics right now, since 1957, for every one woman, there's 1.5 men. So there's way more
Um,
men on this earth. You got to look it up. Trust me, it's true. There's more men on earth than women, right? And so for a woman, it's not hard. The average woman is not hard to find a man, right?
I
However, oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's not hard to find a man, but what I'm saying is a successful relationship, a man that she's willing to submit to, a man that she's willing to really trust and build with and all of that, it's going to be so many different constructs that's going to go into that. And a woman not being able to, a successful woman that has her shit together, not being able to, or why is she single? It's because she's not willing to settle. She's in her mind, she's not willing to settle, right? She doesn't want a man that makes less than her because again, women are socially socially engineered to date up, right? To date a provider. A man can't necessarily provide for you if he makes less than you. He can. There's ways, trust me, there's ways to do it. But in her mind, she may be thinking like he's not really going to be able to buy me the things I want. And if he can, I can buy it myself. And so that attitude is a problem, right? Because I think especially as Black women, I feel like we're not socially engineered right now. We haven't built up that muscle to be the provider in our families. There once upon a time as women, as Black men and Black women, we were slaves, so we was on the same playing field, right? And that even as Black women, we were mammies working inside the house, all this other stuff, right? Eventually we got to a point where our men were taking care of us, though. When you think about like the era where factories started coming in, men were able to afford their family plus another family on the
All right.
side.
All right.
So
That's
we got to
another. That's another. Not
but
to cut you off, but that's another dynamic that I feel like isn't recognized when we talk about this whole providing thing. That there's a historical, economic aspect to it that doesn't align with the way we socially expect something to
exactly.
happen. But go ahead.
And so but now in history, now we're finding that way more Black women are going to college, way more Black women are educated. They're going for their second degrees. So therefore, they're going to increase their incomes. If our men are not doing that also, right? A lot of Black men, there are Black men in colleges, but there's way more Black women doing it. And so if a Black man is not in college, he's not seeking to better himself that way, he has to go into another field that's going to pay him well. And usually that has to be in a trade or something. But we're still having problems finding Black men in those areas too. There are Black men in trades, but not enough of them are going into these things. So where are these men at in society? What money are they making? Some of them could be making money under the table. Some of them could be making like who knows? But in general, they're making average money probably, right? And so
Um,
when I say average money, that's not necessarily a bad thing either. I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm bringing a bad connotation to it. It's not. It's average. But we're talking about women with their shit together, which
uh,
tend to be in a different bracket. She may not want that.
that's that's again. I'm pushing back on that. I think we have to come to terms. Like we use a lot of these terms, right? And they are not interchangeable or linear on a scale from person to person.
Yeah,
So like I hear you keep trying to say like this woman is super successful, but like that would make her an outlier. And I don't feel like that person is kind of like in the scope of the conversation. I feel like Black women have this association that Black women are just super successful on an average, and that's not true. Even on a scale of Black women enjoying success. Black men still are more successful than them. If we're taking a large scale account
Yeah.
into account, I don't know where we're getting these positions. I feel like it's a cultural thing where
Mm-hmm.
we start putting out cultural messages and we start accepting cultural ideologies or concepts. But when we really look at them on an actuality, like go look at the numbers, go look at who making what, they don't align with real life. It's like a fantasy world. Everybody just saying, I want this fantasy, but that don't align with reality.
I
And
agree.
what I'm saying is that's causing a lot of dysfunction.
Social medias and all these.
Whereas, you know what I'm saying? Your expectations don't even align with, if your expectations are above average and you can't even say you're above average, even if you are above average, right?
Yeah.
We still have to be realistic about the probability of you still finding above average at being above average. That's not likely.
Mm-hmm. And that's why
Why are we having these unrealistic expectations in one another? I just don't understand it.
there's a lot of unrealistic. Sometimes I be on social media and I see some of the stuff that women say, and I will agree with what you're saying. Some of the things I see women saying is just like, chick, you're not finding that in the average Joe. You know what I mean? And that's who you're going to be dealing with when you're going out here. You know, you're going to find a lot of average Joes. You're going to find some outliers too. You know, but just realize that the outliers, there's going to be competition in that. You know what I mean? And that's why I said that
Exactly.
in this instance, in this post, that's why perception is important. Because when I read shit together and she's single, when I read those two elements together, that automatically made me feel like, okay, if she can't find a man and her shit together, that means she's making a certain amount of money, right? And if she's making a certain amount of money, that means she's scaring away men that ain't making that type of money. And that's why I said
So
that.
so talk
That's why
so
I said
expound on that though. Like I get what you're saying, and I get
it's.
the attitude of the post. I get what women feel, because I understand that it's a large dysfunction with dating and relationship and family structure and all of that, right? I'm aware of that. And I'm willing to call it out and get to the bottom of it. That's what this conversation is about. These one of the conversations that I feel like help us get to the bottom of that, right? But
Mhm.
at the same time, like, I just feel like we gotta kind of tap back in with reality a little bit. You know what I mean? Like far as when we look for what we looking for in the other, right?
Mhm.
We gotta focus on what we really actually looking for. You know what I'm saying? As far as like, what are you really trying to build? What are you really trying to work towards? I feel like each side, even some men, right? Like I don't know every issue that y'all are experiencing on the side of being a woman and dating men, because I don't date men. I only date women. You know what I'm saying? So it, even for me to sit up here and say things like, yo, use your discernment and dealing with a man, you gotta use your discernment. That's easy for me to say. I'm a man, right? That's true, but still it's a little bit more complex than that, right?
Mhm.
I just think we losing sight of what the goal is, right?
Exactly.
And, independence can be a gift and a curse, right? I feel
Mhm.
like we all should have some type of independence because we need that empowerment for ourselves, self-development. You know what I mean? But I feel like we've become so focused on independence that we don't realize the benefits of partnership. And because of that, conversations like this or situations like this, it get expanded into taking on a lot of tension and past energy that, you know,
Yeah.
don't allow us to get anywhere. You know what I mean?
No, I agree with you. There's a lot of I would say men and women are going through different things at different times, right? As black men, we know what we've been through together in the black community, right? Um, Now we're having like I said, a shift happening where you may have individuals, wanting more for themselves. And as women, one thing that black men have to understand is like, yes, you guys are, a special, anomaly in this country, right? Where you're beat down, you're chased and killed in the street and all this, but at the same time, you are highly sought after when you think about it. Like on a sense of you're a social commodity. Entertainers, you know what I mean? When you look at entertainers or even like athletes, like black men are the mold, right? If you even look at the influence of hip hop, how far that's reached, that's primarily black
Mm-hmm.
men. That's
For
primarily black
sure.
men. Even though black women, we had a play in that, that's black men projecting that and influencing the whole world, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so you guys are special in the sense where you got both of these things going on where socially y'all are at the bottom, but then at the same time you're highly loved. Black women, where we fit into that is, how do I put this? As women, but I don't think black women I don't think men in general consider like what women have also had to go through, right? Because think of it, as a black man, if you had to go through the trenches, where do you think we were, right? So as women, we're taught that the hierarchy is men, women, right? And so we have been treated a certain way throughout history that has been horrible, deplorable. Um, and so now in the history, you have more black women seeking success. And that doesn't mean that they're all obtaining it. You're right, because the average black woman is not, like I said, the average black woman, she's making 35,000 or less
Exactly.
on average.
Exactly.
And so, but you do have, like I said, more and more black women. If you look at the, enrollments, I think in the future you're going to see that more black women are socially obtaining more because it's going to take time. You're seeing more black women in schools now, so that means that we're not going to see the true element of what the economic status is looking like until some years down the line. After women get their college degrees and they've been in their careers for a while, then we'll really be able to see, okay, where are black women financially? So the more and more black women that obtain this, they're gonna have some mental traumas, right? Because along the way, they've had to deal with a lot of shit from their man. Okay, usually, if they've dealt with a lot of men or they've dealt with men in general, as black women, we've had to deal with a lot. And when we finally get that autonomy, see, black men in general don't even understand how important autonomy is for a woman. Like, you guys have it. You're raised to have it. When you're little, your mom lets you, run out and play and do whatever. As a young black girl, you're not allowed to do that. You're in the house. You're protected. You know what I mean? So when we finally get into the world and we're successful and we gain something that we feel like we earned for ourselves, we don't want to just give away that autonomy to just anybody. And a lot of men don't understand how important that is to us, and they take that for granted, and they end up abusing us. Not all of them, right? Not all black men abuse black women, but black women do have to consider like the type of man she wants to be with, and a successful black woman is not going to be willing to be with the average man, average Joe. And it's just so many different social constructs that play into this, and I think it's sad because you're right, we're losing sight of the goal, which is to let's build strong families, let's build strong households, let's build strong children. But that's why mental health is so important, because we got a lot of mental health issues in our community. A lot. Black men, as black women, I'm just letting you know, y'all crazy. Y'all are going through it. You know what I mean? And it makes it, like I said, like,
Likewise.
yeah, and we're crazy
Likewise.
too. Yes, we're crazy too. So you know what I mean? And I don't know how we fix this other than we fix ourselves first, individually. As black women, I think we're taught to be this man's ride or die, be his therapist, be all of these things, and we can't do that. We have too much shit going on ourselves. We got to figure out. And that's why you have a lot of black women now who are choosing to just probably be single, because it's easier that way. It's easier to be single than to try to be up underneath a man and try to understand his
I got you.
complexities. I have my own. You know what I mean?
I got you.
So
So my pushback on that area is that's okay. If you want to be single, that's fine. But just don't complain to the rest of society about your singleness. Don't complain to us about the dudes. Don't complain to us about doing it on your own. Don't complain to us about you wish. Just stop complaining. See, women want it, and that's my pushback. I feel like women want it on both ends. They want a man, but they want to complain about men. It's it's almost like, how are you making yourself appealing? Like, if I'm a man and I
yeah,
want women, I have to make myself appealing, right?
you're
And I feel like women just don't. I'm not gonna say all women, right? I just feel like women are taking these attitudes out of the sake of autonomy, right? Because that's very important to a woman. I know. I've experienced this. I've wanted to give a woman autonomy, and I've seen it regretted because I've seen I've seen women get drunk off of autonomy. They get drunk off of it, and then they don't want to give it up. Now they can't compromise. They can't do simple stuff like, you know, compromise on what color pattern. Like it just become like, no. You know what I
That's a
mean?
too, just so you know. Go ahead.
Exactly. That's a trauma. That's a trauma that's on display. We have traumas on display and nobody wants to address it, right? And I'm not saying that it's a large scale way that we can address it because it's not really, right? We gonna have to deal with this stuff. As bad as I don't want to get on the internet tomorrow and see men and women going back and forth with each other, it's gonna be there, right? And I'm not a fool about it. I'm not sitting up here, you know what I'm saying, crying. I'm not finna complain about it. The thing about it is, I feel like those who have some type of mental, I don't, what's the word I want to use? Cause it could be, it's judgeable. The way you see it and the way I see it might be too different. Somebody might see me and feel like I got some sense, and another person might see me and feel like I ain't got no sense, right? So in that aspect, that's the part that I feel like is the hardest part because we getting messages from so many people that we might identify as someone who's a role model, influential, that's giving us fuck messages, that's giving us the wrong messages that don't do us no good. And it's like, where is the space? Where is the barrier? Where is the place? It ain't school. It ain't church. It ain't home. It ain't with your homies. It ain't like, there's no space that I see that's providing like good reason and sound thought. Like, I'm a part of a Facebook group, the Black Fathers Facebook group, right? It's over 100,000 Black fathers in this Facebook group, right? Somebody come on there with whatever scenario, I don't care. I done seen it from A to Z, right? Routinely, I see positive reinforcement push towards men, not accountability. I see resources. I see all type of stuff that Black men doing in these spaces, right? Then when I hear about the Black women spaces, you know what I hear about them? I hear about a woman coming in there with her scenario and y'all alienating her, attacking her. She coming back, attacking y'all. Y'all leaving the group. I don't know. I feel like that just speaks to something, right? And it speaks to the fact that, I'm gonna hit this point and then I'll let you talk, right? It speaks to the fact that women are demanding left and right that men be leaders, providers, right? I'm gonna stick with leader more so than provider because I feel like provider is so caught up in a financial aspect, right? Which I feel like it has so many broken ties because if you have no historical recollection of what happened historically with economics, then you can't even talk about what a man or what a woman should be doing financially in this day and time, right? So let's just talk about the leadership, right? Y'all asking for leaders, right? I try to lead women all the time. They don't want to listen. They don't want to be led. It remind me every time I think about me trying to help women and them just blatantly just whatever. All I could think about is don't save her because she don't want to be saved. Don't save her. That's all I can think.
I think as Black people, we like to look at ourselves as a monolith, and we're not. Okay, and so if you even look in Africa, right, as a general consensus, if you look over in Africa, there's so many different countries, so many different types of Black people or Black or dark skinned people. There's still conflict, right? This tribe is fighting this tribe, and this tribe don't like this tribe, or Nigerians don't like Ghanaians, and Ghanaians don't like, whatever it could be. So we come from these people, right? One way or another, we came from that other side of the world. So those differences are still there. We have to stop trying to get all of us together. What I
I agree.
truly believe is we need to start just grouping up with like-minded individuals. It's
I
okay
agree.
if this individual don't like what you're doing. They not your cloth. They not your
Yeah.
tribe. Stick
Facts.
with what you know. You know what I mean? Grow with what you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
in our movements get slowed down so much because when we start getting pushbacks from other people that look like us, it feels like it slows down our momentum because we're thinking, well, why isn't everybody getting on our side? And you don't need that. You don't need
You
everybody.
don't. You don't. I
So
agree.
I feel like what we need is everybody to click up, right, and individually, and then have a platform where we can all come together and display what it is that we doing. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
if people from different groups want to support each other, then they can. But for us to just be sitting here trying to get all of us under one big band or movement, it's not going to happen
Nope.
ever.
I agree. I agree.
I just think that, but like you said, with women not wanting to be led or not wanting to hear, it's just, I don't know how we deal with that. Because I see the true issue being our culture, what's promoted, what's
Mm-hmm.
pushed.
For sure. For
I think
sure.
as black men, y'all don't really realize as black women what we have to go through when hip hop, everything that's being promoted in hip hop is I'm sleeping with your girl, I'm making all this cash, beating niggas ass, all this aggression and promiscuity and
Mm-hmm.
infidelity and what do we
Mm-hmm.
see in our communities? Aggression, infidelity, promiscuity, and so I feel
Mm-hmm.
like our main drug that we really love, music, that has propelled
Mm-hmm.
our culture, that has propelled us in front of the world, that is the main thing
Mm-hmm.
destroying us too. It's the main thing destroying us.
For sure.
And
Did you
till
did you
uh,
did you happen to check out my episode Hip Hop is Dead the other day where we kind of
I,
discussed this?
I saw a clip, but I didn't really get to finish seeing everything.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's
I
exactly what we kind of talked about. That's exactly what we kind of talked about how hip hop. So for me, we didn't go into that deep with it, but for me, I definitely agree with what you're saying as far as like the musical influences and all that stuff. Right. That's why I feel like I'm glad that we're at a time where hip hop is dead, rap is dying, like is dying harder than ever before, and we
it
need
has
to transition to something else.
hmm it has to die. I feel like because for
Most definitely.
what it was born to do, it's done that. The
Yeah,
message.
it's been exploited. It's been exploited all the way up to the point to where it's not. It doesn't have what even some people culturally hope to get from it. It doesn't have that essence anymore, right? And we got to stop trying to force it. Like you just said, we need to just go where the alignment is at and stop trying to force it in music. Like we want our music to be whatever this type of moral alignment value, we want it to be that. But I've accepted it. I did get frustrated at it for a certain point, but then I had to realize like it's just music. Like I'm taking it. I want it to be a beautiful story all the time, and it's just music. I gotta accept that it's just what it is, and I can create some beautifulness somewhere else. Like we can do that somewhere else. It don't gotta be through music. You know what I mean?
It don't. We have to be okay with expressing ourselves no matter what sorry. No matter what the platform is.
I'm like,
Like
whoa, what was that?
the big dog. But no, we have to be okay with expressing ourselves no matter what the platform is. And I think we're just so used to having
Definitely.
music. But the reason why hip hop did, and honestly, I feel like it's because it started as a grassroots movement. It started as underground, right? It started as very special,
Mhm.
kind of in New York. People had to go to a DJ party, even hear somebody go freaking freaking, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't
Right.
something on the radio yet. So when it grew into this whole huge thing, like you said, it became exploited and the real like the message of what it like eventually it started off with us having a message that we wanted to get across for us to, basically um give
Express
pride to
ourselves.
ourselves, express ourselves, give pride to ourselves, say what's going on, but it literally left that.
Mhm.
It's no longer doing that anymore. Now
Mhm.
because it became a cash cow, our youth are going to it for a source of money. And then you have
Right.
you have some of the most shadiest of us getting into this industry
Mm-hmm.
and being on the display as if they are the mold
Mm-hmm.
to model ourselves
For sure.
after. And
For sure.
so we're modeling ourselves after shit. And that's why our
Right.
communities are shit. You know what I mean? And so I
And
believe it does have to die.
and that's why I want to that's why I wanted to get into more podcasting and doing more video podcasting, because I feel like the podcaster has a place in this. That's what I kind of talked about on the Hip Hop Is Dead show, that the podcaster has a place in this new transition to a new role model, so to speak. Because I feel like you just said, with hip hop, they extracted hip hop so much that it used to be that you had to go to hip hop to get the culture, right? Now the
Mm-hmm.
culture is on full display everywhere. Like, you go to the fucking airport, the Chinese dude, he rocking the same shit I'm rocking. You know what I'm saying? So it's everywhere. You don't gotta go. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's on a sport. They talking, they using our terminology. It's everywhere. So you don't gotta assimilate or go somewhere anymore to be hip hop or be you. I feel like you got the best time to really I feel like I could be me on any platform,
Mm-hmm.
and don't gotta conform,
Mm-hmm.
and could fit into the quote unquote role model, appealing role model,
Mm-hmm.
because I know what I want to be like and who I want to be like when I was a kid. I ain't want to be like no motherfucking teachers and no shit like that, bro. I wanted to be like the niggas hooping, the niggas rapping, the niggas fresh, the niggas. That's who I want to be like. I ain't want to be like no motherfucking, you know what I mean? But that's because I had a false perception of what cool was, what you know what I'm saying, what the culture was. I had a false perception of what you know what I'm saying, not being lame really is. Now it's like all the shit that you thought wasn't lame is lame. It's like, oh, that shit lame as hell. Like, nigga, y'all sitting down all day not doing shit. Like, that shit lame as hell, bro. Y'all walking around with your pants up. That shit lame, bro. Put your fucking pants up. Like, you know, I just feel like we at this time where now I feel like we can kind of take the influence and kind of transition to a new archetype of what I want to be like as a black, and I can only speak from like a black young man perspective, right? What I want to be like as a black young man growing up in America, right? I feel like we could change that archetype. You know what I mean?
I believe so too. I think, but as Black people, we're the salt of the earth. I believe that we provide flavor, and people love the flavor so much so that they want it for
All
themselves.
day,
That's all slavery was. They wanted us for themselves, and eventually they
for
had to
sure,
they realized there was no point in just keeping it all to themselves. They couldn't, because it was wrong. Everybody needs flavor. The more we put ourselves out there and just allow ourselves to be that which we are, instead of trying to force ourselves to fit in this mold. Like, I'm pretty sure some of these Black men that are wanting to be rappers, you're so much probably more talented in another area. You need to just explore that. Like, we don't need,
for
like
sure.
Tupac said it best, and I swear he's one of my favorite rappers still to this day. I don't care he's been dead
Mm-hmm.
however long, but the thing, like, I felt like his most memorable things that he's ever said wasn't even in a song. It was in his interviews. If you ever watched his
Mm-hmm.
interviews, things that he was saying, he said, we don't
Mm-hmm.
need another rapper. We need some scientists. We need some, whatever it may be. Like, we need those in our
Mm-hmm.
community. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, the mold of success has been rapper, basketball player,
Mm-hmm.
some type of
Mm-hmm.
sport. You know what I
I think
mean?
we get caught up in I know for me, right? You get caught up in uh it's disguised as that, right? I don't think it ever was that, right? Like when I start to learn and start to peel back the layers of myself, right? Peel back the layers of myself, I start to learn that I never really wanted to do those things like that. Like, if when you really want to do something, like, the passion is so ingrained in you. You there every day, tedious. I'm not saying that I didn't love basketball or something like that, but I wasn't giving it the heart that I know now as an adult, when you can see and look back, like, oh, that kid, he loved basketball, because I see what he doing. He there every morning, you feel me? That's what it was, right? I feel like I was just masking my escape from whatever realities I didn't like or didn't want to accept as a kid, I was masking that as, oh, well, I can make it here and then I could just change my life. Even when basketball didn't work, and I'm like, all right, I can make it here and then I could change my life. But really, it was just always about, I just wanted a different life. And when you stay attached to the essence of what you really want, you'll find the passions. They'll come for you. You'll find the spaces where you need to be at. The people will come seek you out because they'll know, like, hey, I need you. You doing we need you, bro. We need you to, like, you'll be surprised how many people will start recognizing you for who you truly are and what you can offer.
Amen. Was you just on a pulpit? Because it just sounded like it. I just could have sworn you.
You know, I'm just spiritual a little bit. You know, it's just in me. It's just in me. You know.
But no, I agree with you 100%. I think a lot of our Black boys don't want to do the things that they're doing, but it's the status quo. I feel like as Black men, or even youth in general, you build yourself up with what's around you, or what's
For
being
sure.
placed in front of you,
Product
and
of your environment, for sure.
product of your environment. And our environments are so messed up, you know. Excuse me, next quarter, Mom. Okay. Sorry, I'm raising a
It's
young
okay.
Black.
It's okay. We about to wrap up in a minute, so it's perfectly fine.
But as you see, I'm raising young Black men. You know what I mean? And it does scare me because the only time that I think about my son going rogue, right? You know, the possibility of my son acting in a way that I'd never raised him to be is by him being influenced
Right.
by
Right.
the outside. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
And
It's a lot of influences these days. It's
a lot of negative.
huge amounts.
Yes.
Facts.
And it's negative. It's not even, like, I feel like in the 60s, we were going through a lot socially because we were even lower on the social scale, but our respect for each other was way better. You know what I mean? Our examples of men were way better, and it's going away. It needs to come, but I feel like it's coming back. I feel like more, even things that you have said in this podcast is refreshing, and shout out to the Fresh Show, but it's refreshing to hear, Black men speak in these ways.
That's actually why I named myself Fresh, by the way. That's actually the true honest answer of why I named Fresh. It's a short for refreshing. I just felt like I would provide some type of refreshing, energy.
And content too.
That's
Like,
ironic.
out here doing this podcast because it is important for us to have these conversations and do it in a healthy way, and not,
Most
how
definitely.
unhealthy it can get on social media.
Yeah. So we gonna wrap up the show. This been a great show. Great experience talking with you. I gotta have you come back. I'm sure we gonna have some verbal verbal sparring on some little topics and subjects, which I feel like is always good, right? I'm not one of them people who feel like dialogue going back and forth, it creates an enemy. Like, that's not the type of person I am. I feel like I like to engage. I like to be challenged on my thoughts. I like to hear different perspectives because I could be missing something. I could not be seeing something. I could be being biased in my experiences. It could be a lot of things, right? But the only way that I can even have the opportunity to see that is if we having dialogue and exchanging different ideas, different experiences and stuff like that. So I definitely appreciate all the energy that you provide on your platform, challenging the men, challenging our opinions, challenging our perspectives. I'm never offended. I'm just always willing to tell my side, tell how I view it, and see if that aligns, see if it bridges some type of connection, whatever, I'm just always open for that. So again, I appreciate you for coming on the show. That's what we do. We come together here to just bring everything together and, build some strength and some unity and power forward. So again, appreciate you again.
Well, thank you for having me. Definitely. And again, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Yadaspits, YADASPITS. And I am Imari Danielle on Facebook and in real life.
All right. Y'all like, subscribe, follow, comment, tell us what y'all thought about the show. All that good stuff. See y'all again. We out. The Fresh Show. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.